White smoke over the Vatican. The world welcomes its first American and Peruvian Pope.
的客人目前的反应大概都是把之前原来在 Q3 要出的货，尽量希望能在 Q2 把它出了。
Taiwan's imports and exports surge to a near record high as U.S. businesses rush to get ahead of Trump's 90-day tariff deadline. Martial law and the death penalty. Taiwanese lawmakers have agreed to delay discussions of two highly controversial referendum proposals. Plus, smoke, sirens, and widespread blackouts reported in Indian-controlled Kashmir. New Delhi claims that they have shot down multiple Pakistani missiles and drones as fallout from the April Pahalgam attack continues to shake the region. Hello and welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Liao. Thank you for joining us. Catholics worldwide are celebrating the election of Cardinal Robert Prevost as Pope Leo XIV. He is the first American to fill the role with strong ties to Latin America. Rosie Greninger has more.
Elation among crowds outside the Vatican as white smoke rises from the Sistine Chapel and the bells of St. Peter ring out, signalling a new pope has been elected.
Dad, the white smoke. I'm going to see the Pope. I'm here at the Vatican and I'm going to see the Pope.
I'm speechless and with no more voice. I'm happy. It's the beginning of a new life. It's a new time coming that does not tire of man.
Minutes later, US Cardinal Robert Prevost was revealed as the 267th leader of the Roman Catholic Church. It comes after 2 days of deliberation between 133 cardinals in conclave in Vatican City and one failed vote. Taking the name Pope Leo XIV, he was greeted by cheers as he made his first appearance on the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. The new pontiff thanking his predecessor, Pope Francis, and repeating his calls for peace.
Dobbiamo cercare insieme come essere una chiesa missionaria, una chiesa che costruisce I ponti, il dialogo, sempre aperta a ricevere, come questa piazza con le braccia aperte, a tutti coloro che hanno bisogno della nostra carità, la nostra presenza, il dialogo, l'amore.
Born in Chicago, 69-year-old Prevost becomes the first American to fill the role of Pope. Although he's considered as much a cardinal from Latin America, with Peruvian nationality, and because of the many years he spent as a missionary in Peru. The former leader of the Augustinian order was appointed a cardinal by Pope Francis in 2023. His time in the Catholic Church hasn't been without controversy, accused of concealing sexual abuse. But in Chiclayo, where he served as a bishop, and across the US, faithful are celebrating his papacy.
I am very excited and blessed by the election of the new Pope, especially because he is from Chiclayo. My son and I came because he is happy and joyful. We know what kind of person Prevost is. We know that he will continue much of Pope Francis's legacy.
I feel a connection also because he's a Cubs fan.
Oh, he's the boss.
Yes, they said that on the news this morning, and I was like cheering.
Despite a history of criticizing US policies under President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance on social media, Trump has called Prevost's selection a great honor. Leaders across the globe are also sending their congratulations and well wishes. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te saying Taiwan hopes to continue working with the Vatican to pursue peace, justice and religious freedom. Comments echoed by Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese.
This is a moment which will bring joy and hope to Catholics everywhere. May the papacy of Pope Leo advance the cause of peace and social justice for all humanity.
Viewed as a centrist, much remains to be seen about Pope Leo and the direction he will take the Catholic Church. He shares beliefs with the late Pope Francis on helping migrants and acting against climate change, but his stance on equality for women in the church and LGBTQ+ rights have been questioned. After emphasising the need for peace in his first address, analysts believe he'll follow in the footsteps of Francis, focusing on making change in social justice issues.
I think that we're going to see this new Pope continue Pope Francis's initiatives towards economic justice and against sort of the privations of globalization.
As Pope Leo steps into his new position, he will serve 1.4 billion Catholics worldwide. And as news of his appointment spreads to faithful across the globe, the future of the Catholic Church is in his hands. Ryan Wu and Rosie Gredinger for TaiwanPlus.
The election of a new pope may not only impact Taiwan's faithful. The Vatican is one of Taiwan's few allies and the only one remaining in Europe. As Rick Liao reports, Taipei will be keen to maintain those ties under Pope Leo XIV.
Taiwan's 300,000 Catholics are joining the hundreds of millions of Catholics around the world celebrating their new Pope, Cardinal Robert Prevost, now Pope Leo XIV. And Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te, has joined other world leaders in congratulating the world's first American Pope. But Taiwan has another reason to be looking at this change of leadership in the Catholic Church. The Vatican is one of just 12 countries around the world that has official diplomatic ties with Taiwan, that recognizes Taiwan as a country. Here at the Bishops' Conference in Taipei, the local leaders of the Catholic Church are giving some insights on how that important relationship might now develop.
我相信为在台湾的信友，在台湾的天主子民会很高兴这一位教宗愿意更多的认识台湾，也愿意需要透过这个天主教会跟这边的人有更多的一个联系。
Taiwan's diplomatic allies face pressure from China, which claims Taiwan as part of its sovereign territory, to switch ties from Taipei to Beijing. Taiwan's ambassador to the Vatican recently told the Central News Agency that when he was a cardinal, the new pope differentiated between China and Taiwan. People here in Taiwan will now be hoping that he holds that distinction now that he's taking office as pope. Patrick Chen and Rick Liao in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
The United States and the UK have announced a new trade agreement.
A historic step. The deal includes plans that will bring the United Kingdom into the economic security alignment with the United States. That's the first of its kind. And by the way, we have many meetings planned today and tomorrow, and every country wants to be making deals.
U.S. President Donald Trump agreed to reduce import taxes on some British cars and metals. Meanwhile, the UK will boost its imports of U.S. products like beef and ethanol. It's the first trade deal since Trump announced sweeping global tariffs last month, upending global trade and stoking fears of a recession in the U.S. Taiwan's tech sales are booming as U.S. consumers get their orders in ahead of Trump's looming tariffs. Reese Ayers has more.
Taiwan's trade is surging in the second quarter of 2025 as orders stack up for semiconductors and other tech products. It comes as the global supply chain anticipates the next round of US tariffs, first announced in April, then delayed by 90 days. With Taiwanese products facing a possible 32% levy in early July, assuming no deal is made before then, US buyers are getting their orders in before the hike.
我们的客人目前的反应大概都是把之前原来在 Q3 要出的货，尽量希望能在 Q2 把它出了。那 Q3 现在的需求，说实话，以美国客人来讲，稍微比较观望。那我们也持续跟客人做充分的沟通。
The trade surge is creating some big numbers for Taiwan, the producer of most of the world's most powerful chips. Both exports and imports hit their second highest figures ever in April, with almost $50 billion in exports, around 80% of that the sale of semiconductors or other tech products.
But it's not all good news. Freight and cargo companies, including major player EVA Air, are feeling the fallout of the US-China trade war.
That's as shippers slam on the brakes to avoid the over 100% tariffs Beijing and Washington have thrown at each other.
确实我们看到从大陆出来的电商货是有减少，那幅度也不能说不大。美国还是有豁免的一些产品，当然我们也还持续在关注整个大陆出口的一个状况。那必要的时候，我们就会把货机做一些调整。
But with US and Chinese officials set to meet for trade talks in the coming days, and the beginnings of a US-UK trade deal emerging earlier this week, there could be hope yet on the horizon for a return to normalcy for global trade. Joseph Wu and Rhys Ayres for TaiwanPlus.
United States AI companies are calling on the government to build more data centers and export more AI chips to stay ahead of China in the sector.
AI is truly the most transformative technology of our time. The United States leads today, but what I would like to say is it is a race. Leadership is absolutely not guaranteed. It's a global race that will shape the outcome of national security and economic prosperity for many decades to come.
The U.S. Senate Commerce Committee heard from top executives from AI giants AMD, OpenAI, and Microsoft. Congress is looking to deregulate the industry in response to China's recent progress. Last year, China unveiled the AI platform DeepSeek and an advanced AI chip from Huawei. U.S. President Donald Trump says he could ask China for help ending the Russia-Ukraine war. He told reporters it was only natural to ask Beijing to help negotiate. Trump made securing peace in Ukraine a major election promise, but has so far made little headway brokering talks. But Trump says he is helping move Ukraine toward peace.
I don't know. I think we're making good progress. The fighting is a little bit different than it was. I think if we weren't involved, Russia would be, going at it to maybe get the whole thing. Without our involvement, they'd be able to get it because we supplied a lot of different things foolishly.
Russia said it would have a 3-day ceasefire starting Thursday. Ukraine says Russia has already broken that commitment. Taiwan's legislature was set to discuss a new bill that may initiate multiple referendum votes in the country, but those plans have been delayed. Martial law and the death penalty. That's what's on legislators' minds as of late. The opposition Kuomintang has put forth 2 bills in Taiwan's legislature to initiate countrywide referendums on those 2 topics. And it was scheduled for final discussions and a vote on Friday, but that plan has been pushed back. The contentious referendums were expected to stall legislative proceedings as the ruling Democratic Progressive Party fights the bills tooth and nail. On Friday, the DPP's legislators signed up to speak in the chamber en masse, indicating they would try to hamper the referendum's passage. After private cross-party discussions in the chamber, the KMT agreed not to bring up the referendum bills in the legislature, instead choosing to prioritize another bill amending laws concerning Taiwan's holidays. What is it about the referendums that are so divisive? The first referendum will ask, do you agree that the government should avoid war and not let Taiwan become like Ukraine, which is under martial law and where young people die while their country is destroyed? The KMT says this question is a response to President Lai Ching-te designating China as a foreign hostile force. China claims Taiwan as part of its territory and has not ruled out unification by force. The KMT says that the ruling Democratic Progressive Party's rhetoric puts Taiwan in danger and on the brink of war.
可以因为一人的决定就可以进行宣布对岸为敌对势力，让两岸进入了一个兵凶战危、准战争的关系。
The DPP and the KMT have long disagreed on how to deal with China. While Beijing sees the DPP as, quote, separatists and has historically refused to engage with any of the party's administrations, the KMT has had friendlier relations with China. The second referendum bill will ask, do you agree that a unanimous decision should not be required to hand down a death sentence in criminal trials? The death sentence is also something the ruling and main opposition party have disagreed on. While some in the DPP have advocated for outright abolishing the death penalty in Taiwan, the KMT wants to keep it in place. The current government has not indicated it has any plans to get rid of the death penalty. The KMT holds a majority in the legislature with the help of the smaller Taiwan People's Party. That means both referendums are expected to pass when they eventually come for a vote.
昨天的朝野协商，大家都看得非常清楚，韩国瑜的协商就只是过水，案子都是蓝白定的。
Taiwan's Central Election Commission has said that if the bills pass, the vote will be scheduled for August. Alex Tun and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus. Coming up after the break, why this traditional Mother's Day flower might cost you more than usual this weekend.
We're back in Kaohsiung Harbor, but boy, do I have an adventure to share with you. Season 4, we complete the circumnavigation of Taiwan, all the way from Daxi Harbor, around the South Hengchun Peninsula, and end up in Hobihu. This fish market is a gold mine. I had no idea they also have fish auction going on over here. Oh, lai. Oh, that was amazing. You can see this net was full of mahi-mahi. What a beautiful mahi-mahi. Huge. We finally spotted one and everyone jumped into the action. Here it is, Olambi. We've made it. So, to celebrate it, now you gotta do this.
Latest season of Happy Fisherman. Every Thursday, 8:15 p.m. on TaiwanPlus.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world, charted by the freest country in Asia.
Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. India says Pakistan has carried out multiple attacks on its military facilities. The two nuclear-armed countries now appear locked in a cycle of escalation. Adil Brar reports.
Air raid sirens, whale warnings in India-administered Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab state. All night, people along the border area saw red lights flaring across the night sky. Media reports say those lights were drones and munitions launched from Pakistan against Indian military installations. A sweeping blackout followed the sirens, leaving residents in the dark.
There are sounds of shelling and firing. We have also seen trails of smoke in the sky.
The extent of the damage remains unclear. India says it intercepted multiple drones and missiles launched from Pakistan in what appears to be a direct response to Indian strikes a day earlier.
Pakistan attempted to engage a number of military targets in northern and western India using drones and missiles. These were neutralized by the integrated counter unmanned aerial system and other air defense systems.
India has released images of its airstrikes on Wednesday. It says they were in response to what it calls a terrorist attack in India-administered Kashmir on April 22nd. New Delhi is calling that attack, which left 26 civilians dead, the original spark of the conflict. Islamabad denies its involvement. Families in Pakistan are reportedly fleeing the border regions, fearing further hostilities.
Most people have left the village, but a few families remain. Only some men remain. The rest of the women, children, and elderly have gone, taking only a few belongings, like clothes.
India now says Pakistan is carrying out further artillery shelling and airstrikes, targeting 15 separate locations. Pakistan's military refutes India's claims.
India has created a hype since yesterday about Pakistan attacking 15 locations, the 15 locations they're talking about. It's such a fantastic and cooked-up story.
The two nuclear-armed nations now seem locked in a cycle of escalation, as schools and public institutions along parts of India-Pakistan border remain closed. Major powers like the US, China, and Russia have offered to mediate a de-escalation. Without an exit, many fear the past week's sorties and skirmishes may grow into a wider war. Eason Chen and Adil Brad for TaiwanPlus.
The leaders of China and Russia have pledged to work together to counter U.S. influence. Chinese President Xi Jinping told Russian leader Vladimir Putin their countries should be friends of steel. Xi was in Moscow for Russia's Victory Day, marking the end of World War II in Europe. He and Putin signed a statement to deepen cooperation and stand against what they call U.S. bullying. Putin has been under fire over Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and Xi is in the middle of a tariff war with the U.S. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un supervised the test fire of a short-range ballistic missile and long-range artillery on Thursday, according to state media. Kim reportedly also inspected the military's nuclear trigger system and called on the North's nuclear forces to prioritize combat readiness. Pyongyang says Thursday's test involved the tactical ballistic missile Hwasong-11, which Western officials say is being used by Russia to strike Ukraine. It was the fourth ballistic missile test conducted by North Korea this year. Former Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen will head to Europe on Friday to speak at a democracy summit in Denmark. On her way there, Tsai will also stop in Lithuania, a country whose ties with Taiwan grew considerably under her leadership. To find out more about the trip, I spoke with Lithuanian legislator Arūnas Valinskas. Can you tell me if you know anything about, the planning behind this trip, or whether or not Lithuanian officials were involved?
Myself personally was not involved in the planning of this trip, but I'm glad nevertheless. And yes, there were indicators that this trip was somewhat in the works for a long time. And I mean, given the level of the officials that will be involved, it's no surprise.
Besides continuity in diplomatic relations between Taiwan and Lithuania, maybe under a new government, what else do you think this trip means?
I'm glad what this trip and what this visit and what the people involved in this visit symbolizes is that the relationship, the establishment, or the elevation, shall we say, of the relationship between Lithuania and Taiwan was not sort of a one-off fluke. It was not just a popular thing to do to sort of, offend China or whatever they might want us to believe. That it is a lasting thing that will have many interesting iterations, lasting, and it's based on things that are in development and will remain in development for the foreseeable future. That it's something that has a lot of content to it, and there are very high-ranking profile people, both in Lithuania and Taiwan, that are interested in maintaining this bond that we have and develop and strengthening it.
Our former president Tsai Ing-wen is going to meet with your former president Grybauskaitė. What can be said about the meeting of these two leaders?
One thing that I would like to underline is that Dalia Grybauskaitė is likely one of the most well-respected ex-officials in Lithuania. So her participation in this visit certainly elevates it and signifies the importance that our politicians and people who actually pay attention to what's going around the world, how they approach it. Official meetings between our current government and visitors from Taiwan obviously are, shall we say, difficult. But given that, I believe the participation of such other high-ranking ex-politicians, such as Dalia Grybauskaitė, is, in a way, the second best thing.
What can you tell me about Lithuania's stance on its ties with Taiwan?
After the change of government, just like about half a year ago, there were talks of needing to revisit our issues with China and our distancing with China, especially giving our previous stances of Taiwan. We had several comments made by our president and so on and so forth. So there was always this talk of whether this pivot to Taiwan instead of China, shall we say, is the right thing to do. I treat them more or less as background noise, and I have no indications that I should do otherwise. And there's no serious movement, at least that I know of, and that at least that I've noticed, to actually implement serious change regarding our relationship with Taiwan.
That was Lithuanian legislator Arūnas Valinskas. Mother's Day in Taiwan is just around the corner, but for people planning to give the traditional carnations as gifts, they may have to check their wallets. Our reporter Sandy Chi explains.
Considered a symbol of mother's love for her children, carnations are a popular flower, often gifted on Mother's Day, which falls on Sunday in Taiwan. Here in Taiwan, most carnations are grown in the central county of Changhua. However, this year, many of the blooms may not be ready in time for the special day because of unusually cold weather earlier this year.
今年遇到寒流比较多啊，所以它有减产，生长缓慢啊，减产，它大概两成左右。是种植康乃馨也有到20年以上啊，没有遇过这种情形。
The late bloom is being reflected in carnation prices, with one variety costing 30% more than in previous years. Despite the higher cost, customers say they are still willing to buy.
人家种的也辛苦了，反正还是要该给人家就要给人家。
1年1次而已啊，对啊，所以是可以接受的。
With the lower supply, florists say there is a chance that prices may continue to rise further before Mother's Day on Sunday. Scott Huang and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
And thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Follow us on social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, before we go, we're going to go to Bulgaria to see 3D light installations projected onto landmarks in its capital, Sofia. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.